Hi class, welcome to the last tutorial on module 5, which basically deals with nesting of tuples, lists and dictionaries. We will see each one of them one by one and then get an idea of what does basically it mean. Let me just copy the standard lines first. Okay. So what is list nesting? For example, you have nested for loop, right? For within a for, right? Similarly, you can have nested tuples, nested list and nested dictionaries. Let us see an example directly to make the things clear. I can even have it like this. Oh, sorry. So if you see this list class, so basically years is a list, right? Because you have the square brackets here, but within every element of list, it's a list itself, right? So you have two lists. Basically, this is the outer list, and these are all sub lists within the list. So how do you access this? For example, let me keep a simple statement. For example, for x in years, for every object in years, let me just have this as a tab. I am printing the value of x and I'm exiting the code so that we have a smaller output. So you see for every line, it is taking the entire list as one single object, right? Because if you see the list, this basically is like an element, first element, comma, then this is a second element, comma, third element, comma, and final element. If you want, you can give a comma at the final element also. It does not result any syntax errors. So for x in years, what I'm printing x, so it is printing the entire list. Now, if this is a list, I can re-access the list, right? So for example, let me comment out this statement. Okay, let me keep the statement as it is, and I have two more statements. If you see, x is again a list, right? Let me just type the type of x. So when I print the type of x, you will see this is a list in itself. Now, since I know that x is a list in itself, I am printing, let's say, for sublist in x. And then I will print sublist and have this value. Let us check the output and you will get things very clear. Oh, this has to be a comma here. Okay, so let us see how the execution took place. For x in years, right? So years has basically four objects, which are lists in itself, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what did it print? X was basically the first list, and when we printed the type of that, it was a list, right? Of course, because this is a square bracket. Now, since we knew that this X itself is a list, I am now traversing the list. How do you traverse a list? You say, let's say for sublist in X. What was X here? X was January, February, March. And I am printing the sublist. So what will be the sublist? The sub item will be January, February, and March. See, the sublist is January, February, March. When it ends, I again iterate to the second element. Second element was April, May, June, right? April, May, June, which again is a list. And to access the sublist, I'm again using for loop. Since this has a list within a list, I required two for loops. It is also possible to have a list within a list and within a list. In that case, you will have three for loops. The same logic will apply for a tuple also, right? For tuple, so let us write the command to clear the screen. So we have os.system and let us run CLS. Mac and Ubuntu can use clear. So now we have a nested tuple. If you can see this tuple, this is a tuple within a tuple, right? So this is the outer tuple and these are the inner tuples. Same thing. So for inner and nested tuple, right? So you will get a tuple when you access the inner objects. And then what I'm doing, I'm printing the value inside the inner, right? So if you want, I can have a print here. Let us say print inner tuple. And to be very sure about the output, inner tuple, I can have this value. Values is basically value. And let me have the exit clause here. to terminate the code. Now just check the output of it. Okay. So you have the inner tuple initially as blue and green, which is same as here. Inner tuple is blue and green. And since this is a tuple in its own self, I am printing the value inside this inner. So I am getting the inner values blue and green. So again, for inner and nested tuple, it will access red and black. So inner tuple is red and black, and the individual elements are accessed using the inner tuple, which is again red and black. And finally for same blue and white. So class, just remember one thing. If you have an inner tuple, so for example, this is the outer tuple and inner tuple, right? So you require two for loops because there is a tuple within a tuple. If there is a tuple within a tuple within a tuple, you have to use three for loops, just like a 3D array or a 2D array. For the same thing, you can also have as a dictionary nested. Okay, so when you have a nested dictionary, you see I have key and value, but the value here itself is a dictionary, right? I have this key employee one and I have the name and the job, so the value itself is a dictionary. So how do you access a dictionary? Using d.items. D.items basically gives you both the id and the value. Items basically returns the key as well as the value of this, right? Now id will have imp1, imp2 and imp3, but what will info have? Info will have the complete dictionary, right? And now to access this dictionary, I can just say directly for key in info, right? Because info has the entire dictionary. By default, Python will traverse over the each and every key, and since you know the value of each and every key, you can access it info and subscript the key, right? Just check the output for this again. So initially I am getting this print of id followed by a hash and info. So you see initially it read as imp separated by the value, right? The value was the entire dictionary here. Now what I did, I printed the employee ID. Employee ID is emp1, and for that particular employee ID, what I did, because I knew that info was a dictionary, I traversed the dictionary, and then I'm printing employees Bob and MGR, employees Bob and MGR. Again, dictionary within a dictionary, so two for loops, right? So this is how nested dictionaries work. Very useful because at times you require something to have list within the list. For example, when you deal with files and all, this will be pretty useful. That's it for this tutorial, and that's it for module 5. Thank you class for watching it. Have a good day.